Become a wealth creator today. Text VISIT to 800-454-1184 to schedule your 15-minute call with Eric and his team. That's VISIT to 800-454-1184.
You know, if you ask most Americans if they want more or less money in retirement, I think they would probably say more money, right? Who wouldn't? It seems obvious. You know, the more money you have, the easier your retirement will be. Well, what if I told you that that's not always true? Welcome to Wealth Creator Radio today with Eric Heckman, and he's going to fill us in on, honestly, the biggest issue impacting the wealthiest of retirees, ways that you can plan ahead, and why sometimes wealth can be both a blessing and a curse. Here's the phone number for our show today. You can reach out to Eric and his team for a complimentary appointment, 800-454-1184. That's the number to call. Transform your retirement worries to confidence. We like to tell you, you can get the complimentary toolbox. It's a kit, basically, that includes Eric's book, the educational materials. We call it the toolbox. So 800-454-1184. You can text the word toolbox to that number if you would like that as well. Remember, this show, you can listen, on wherever you get podcasts, okay? Just search for Wealth Creator Radio and wealthcreatorradio.com. That's our website. And Eric, hello to you.
Hey, Luann. Yeah, this is a kind of a critical time. I mean, I know we're all enjoying summer and, having fun and all that type of stuff. But, right now with the market being a little bit more unsteady, we've got the election coming up, which who knows what that'll be,
Right.
other than a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And we know that the Feds multiple times said they're going to change rates, and seems pretty likely they're going to do it in September. Well, why is that important? If you want to protect some of that money, if you want to lock in some of those gains, because the market, even with a little bit of pullback, still way up compared to where it was, a few years back, now is the time to be doing that. Oh my gosh. I mean, this is after the Fed rate hikes, we've had the best little 2-year window here that we've, that I've had actually probably in 30 years of my career. There's products where their principal is guaranteed, but you can earn up to 10%, sometimes even a little higher if the market goes up, and if the market goes down, you don't lose a dime. So, something like that, having some portion of your IRA there protected, safe, guaranteed, but still have some great earnings when the markets are up and not have to worry or freak out when the markets go down. That not freak out factor, that's something that, I don't think people appreciate quite enough, but they do like it when they don't have to freak out for sure. So, I would say now is the time to definitely be, reaching out and finding out, okay, what should I be doing? Should I be protecting some of this money? Because I need to have it last my whole life. And, a lot of us are living a lot longer than we used to. So, that's one of the reasons why we got to, have this plan going, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like I said at the top of the show, a lot of our listeners might be scratching our heads at the thought that having more money in retirement could be a disadvantage. But why don't you kind of break it down for us? Explain what I mean.
Yeah, well, I mean, longevity is, that's the big thing now. I mean, I'm just working with somebody who, it's the daughter was calling me to get some help for her mom, and her mom just lost her mom.
Aw.
But her mom's 75. I was like, hold on. How old was your grandma? She's like 103.
Oh, my word.
Yeah. And if you're expecting that inheritance, you might be in your mid 70s before you get that inheritance. So we're definitely living a lot longer. So that's one thing. And then, you need to make sure that money lasts longer, right? So, that's why, I mean, it's a good thing that we're, having the more money is good, because you're going to have obviously a lot more choices in retirement. But you got to make sure it lasts, and you got to make sure you have the lowest tax situation, set up too.
Right. Yeah. So, we all want to live longer and happier in retirement. But the fact is, the more time we spend in retirement, then the longer our money has to last, or we risk, running out of income and putting our whole retirement at risk. So how are you helping people with this tough situation?
Yeah, well, I find that everybody who's making that shift, 50, 55, 60, whatever age, going that shift from working life to retirement life, very different numbers, because once you withdraw the money, you lock in those prices then, right? When you sell those shares to pay the bills, to go have fun, to go do whatever you want to do, right? So you need to have three types of money. You need to have some market money that most people talk about, but you also have to have some money that's steady income, stuff that pays good dividends, that ideally doesn't have a lot of volatility. And then lastly, you need to have some really good foundational money, some money that can't go away. And that's what I was talking about earlier is there's so many great options right now for guaranteed money, that stuff that used to earn, 3 to 5% now could be averaging 7 to 9. I mean, it's night and day difference. And some of those products are going to probably start going back downward in terms of earning ability once the Fed starts lowering rates. So that's why now is a good time to take action. And so, if you want to set up a time and say, yeah, Eric, what is this whole thing about some of these guaranteed products or these things that I can protect my money but still have some good earnings? Well, all you have to do is text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word visit, 800-454-1184. You can also leave a message, or you can book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Also on wealthcreatorradio.com, you can find out when Eric and his team are holding their next webinar. They have events, not necessarily just webinars, but events, and those details you can sign up online for. So thank you so much for joining us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. Today we're discussing how longevity can be both a blessing and a risk. And Eric, sometimes we hear people say that wealthy retirees live a longer life. And is it because they just maybe have better insurance or access to healthcare? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it can definitely help, right? I mean, but I find really the bigger thing is, are you staying active? Are you, exercising? Are you eating right? Those are the things that really, you really need to be focusing on. A lot of us go, okay, I'll figure that out later. But then it just gets later and later, right? and just like compound interest, compound, stuff in your body gets compounded the wrong direction too, right?
So you got to use it, right? You use it or you lose it.
Yep. So that's one of the things that you have to think about is, if you're going to be living to your 90s or 100s, very potentially, what kind of, health status are you going to be in? Because you also don't want to wait for those trips to, that big dream trip, that river cruise, Machu Picchu, whatever. Those things are a lot easier when you're able to walk around and do stuff. If you're in a walker or wheelchair or, have other health issues, it might not be so great. And so, that's why you do want to, go off and have those fun things and make sure you have them planned out, of course, but also make sure you're taking care of your body. Cause that's probably one of the biggest things. So I have a friend of mine that's, I think he's 15 or 16 years older than me. Mm-hmm. One time we were tired. He likes the bike ride too. And I was telling him, oh, we were going to do the death ride. And he was like, oh yeah. He's like, I was like, yeah, I was unsure that you're about doing it or not. And he just told me, don't let the old man in.
Ah.
And I just thought that was really funny because he was 15 years older than me, right? And he was accusing me of being the old guy. And so I actually have that now on my bikes. I put a little label that says, don't let the old man in, because anytime you feel like you're not doing well, you don't want to keep getting older, right? Yeah, we all will. But yeah, it depends on how much you stay active, what you do with the money, and, what kind of plans you have too. Just, don't watch TV all day, right?
Right.
You got to get out there, spend time with people, volunteer, whatever you like to do, but definitely stay active.
Right. Very good. All right. So I see how longevity can be a great thing, but a big risk to your finances. Are there other ways that a long life impacts the wealthiest retirees more?
Well, it's not necessarily the wealthiest retirees more, other than just the fact that it affects us all, I think, is, if you, depending on when you turn on Social Security, it may be good or bad, depending on how long you live again, and when you're spending your money. Now, often I find it still makes more sense to turn it on at full retirement age and not wait till 70, because you don't spend down as many other assets. But again, you have to see what other assets you have. And, I think the biggest thing is really just affecting the income plan. The income plan is the biggest key for success in retirement, making sure you have a customized income plan that says, how long is this money going to last me with taxes, inflation, everything. And, that's I think the biggest key is making sure that that, there is a plan that you can spend this much money, and that even if you live a long time, that money's going to still be around. And then how are you going to put your money invested to get those returns. It can't be all in the market, because when the market's down, you can't just pause and not retire anymore. You got to still be retired, right? And so, one of the things, again, that if you want to set up a time to talk real quick, we can kind of go over those different issues, find out what, set a time to talk with me, Eric Heckman. We'll take 15, 30 minutes to go over what your situation is, what concerns you have, and go from there. So if you want to do that, all you have to do is text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word visit, 800-454-1184, or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
More to come with Eric Heckman on Wealth Creator Radio.
Do you know whether your retirement plan has any weak points? Discover ways on giving your financial future the proper tune-up. Simply go online to wealthcreatortoolbox.com to gain a better understanding in taxes, Social Security, and other ways to manage your portfolio.
And that's how it's done.
That's wealthcreatortoolbox.com.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. It's easy to make assumptions about what's going to go into a legacy plan, right? But Eric is here to help make it even clearer for you as we dive into the basics of creating a lasting legacy for your family. Eric, tell us some of the basic questions we should be asking ourselves on this topic.
Yeah, well, there's obviously lots of stuff that goes around this. Not stuff that people always like to think about, right?
True, yeah.
Nobody ever wants to talk about, I might die someday. No, it's not might. It's so far guaranteed.
Yeah.
So first of all, fix that language situation. So it is something you need to plan for, because if you don't, it's just more of a mess that you left for somebody.
Yeah.
And so, one of the first things to do is just talk to your loved ones, because lots of times I have people that say, this person's, my son or my daughter is going to really want my house. And then you talk to them like, no, I'm not going to move back there, and it's like, well, hold it. What are you, you're trying to fix it up for them and do, so that'd be one thing, is just literally once you start doing this discussion, talk with your with your kids and, family members and stuff to see if what they want. And the biggest critical thing is really having, first of all, making sure your beneficiaries are right. That's a big one. We find errors all the time. And especially when a lot of these companies merge or take over stuff, it's amazing how many times we find stuff that just drops, just gets lost. So sometimes your 401k at work may change companies. Well, definitely a good time to check check that, the beneficiary. And then, if you own real estate's the only asset that you can't really put any beneficiary on. So that's when you really need to go get a living trust, because a living trust basically acts like a funnel. It says where your stuff's supposed to go and who's supposed to get it. In a way, it's kind of like a corporation where it doesn't die when you die. It just means somebody else is the trustee, somebody else is the beneficiary of it, and so forth. So, so that'd be the first thing, is just getting all the paperwork right, making sure you have the right names on there. We just recently ran across one person's account that somehow had no beneficiaries. We've had other ones where they have, 3 kids, but 2 were listed. You're like, what? Were you mad at the one kid? Right. So sometimes it's just, paperwork error, or, maybe it was another screen and they forgot to enter it, things like that. And we have seen plenty of, X's be listed, and there's a ton of case law that says who's ever on the paperwork, that's the person who gets the money, even if they weren't supposed to get the money. So it is something that
dang,
that you want to be, careful on, and you want to update it. You don't have to do it obviously every single year necessarily, but this is something that anytime you have any major life changes, obviously marriage, divorce, things like that, you also want to make sure that your kids and their kids are included.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing is, for me, I've got 3 sons. Well, none of them have kids yet, but if say my oldest son Owen had a child, and say I passed away maybe at the same time with him, or maybe he passed away first or whatever, I would still want his kid to get his share.
Sure.
But most people, the way they list the beneficiaries, they just say 1/3 each.
Oh,
well, if there's only 2 left, then
where's that out of the third?
The other one gets cut out, and that's not usually what you want. So there's actually a funky little thing called Persterpes, which I always think sounds like a disease.
It's a funny name. Yeah.
Yeah. And it looks like stripes, but it's Stirpes. It's spelled slightly different. And what that basically means is, if you mark that box, a lot of companies now have this box. They haven't had it for probably only about the last 10 years. I've seen a lot of companies use it. And so this Persterpes thing, what that does is it says that money will go to anybody in that lineal descendant. So if they do have kids, the kids get it. If they don't have kids, goes back to where it would have been anyways, right? The 1/3 shares get split to 1/2, and the other, 2 get, the half. So it's a super easy box that you can check, and boom, you're just done, right? So, but it's this little knowledge, it's little things, and if your financial advisor is not talking to you about this, it can really mess up what your plans are, what your wishes are. And, nobody wants to be rolling around in the grave, I guess, right?
Yeah, I always say that.
But
she'd be rolling in her grave if she knew that. Yeah,
right, exactly. So no, but I mean that's the simple things to fix. And again, this is. I mean, I have one client that for almost 30 years now, I have a letter from 1998 in his file saying, "Go get your trust and will set up," and still hasn't done it. His kid's now grown and out of the house, and so it doesn't take long. But ironically for him, when his parents passed away, it was a kind of a mess with his siblings, and it's like you'd think that'd open up his eyes to make sure he gets his right.
Yeah, right.
but still, lots of times people don't do it. So it's just one of those things where, okay, just take the time, get it going, and, get those things set up. And then, maybe every 5 years, you got to check out stuff. Or obviously, if you're changing accounts or moving stuff, you want to look at all that. But, again, we've set up a lot of great tools in our digital toolbox, so how to make sure your money lasts as long as you do, Social Security decisions. My book, Worry Less Wealth, does go into a whole part about legacy and all that stuff. That's a free download there. Or you can also set up a time to talk with us. All you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Or you can download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And you are listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial. Eric, why don't you kind of go through, everything you've said so far actually talks about, having benefits of this legacy plan, but walk us through some of the specific strategies that a legacy plan will help.
Yeah, well, a lot of things that'll, figure out hopefully some of the tax liabilities or especially the legal liabilities. So, the cost of probate can be tens and tens of thousands of dollars. And that's just to go prove what you had in a will, or if you didn't have a will, who gets what. Mm-hmm. So that can all get, just bypassed with a living trust. So that's why you want one of those. And also beneficiaries, anything with beneficiaries skips that whole process too. So that's one easy way. You can also make sure that people get the right assets so they know, like right now with the tax laws now with the inherited IRAs, when you inherit your parents' IRA, you have 10 years to basically spend that money. And if they were old enough to have to be taking out required minimum distributions, you have to take some money out every year. Mm-hmm. But by the end of that 10th year, you have to have it all spent. Well, That was kind of like a tax increase because it used to be able to spend that over 30 years. So if you have to spend it over 10, that's a lot more tax to pay quicker.
Yes.
So that's one of the things you just have to plan for. Obviously, if you're inheriting some of that, make sure you're doing it all right. Make sure you do the paperwork right. One little error, and the IRS has no forgiveness on this stuff. You might owe all the tax today. So that's pretty bad. And then the other parts really would be probably the hardest part is the family disputes. Mm-hmm. And the funniest part, which we've talked about in the show in the past, is just goofy stuff like grandma's shoes. I had one set of families where one teenage daughter went in there, grabbed some of grandma's shoes, and before the other one had a chance to look at them, and they got mad. And grandma's a client of mine, and she didn't have fancy footwear, so that's I don't even know why this is a fight, right? And probably the other big one that always stands out to me is the time when I had 4 siblings. One of them was my client, inherited a house that was worth $800,000. So pretty easy math, right? They all sell it. They each get $200.
Sure.
except for one was living there and one just got divorced. So the divorced one moved in with the sibling. And so now half of them are living in it, half aren't. And so
the other half, they want their money.
If you do the voting there, right, it's a stalemate.
Yeah, true.
And so it took the divorced one about a year and a half before his divorce was settled, where he could go get a loan to pay off the other two.
Oh my gosh.
So that just kind of breeds resentment and ill will and stuff. And I mean, probably the smartest thing to do is, put some rules in there, put stuff in your trust about how you want the things handled, but also for any sentimental stuff. I mean, a lot of times it's stuff that people would throw out, it might be junk. It might be very meaningful for your family. And so, let people know, okay, I want this, and put it in writing, take a picture of it and say, this goes to that person.
Yes.
If you got a picture of it and inside the trust, it's pretty hard to fight. Right. So, so that'd be the things to do. And then let the other ones know that person just claimed that. Right. So,
exactly.
So a lot of it's just talking, communicating, and then planning ahead. And it takes a tiny bit of time. I won't lie there, but once you get it done, again, every 5 to 10 years is really when you have to update this. So it's not super hard to do, but, again, if that's something you want to talk about a little bit, what things to be thinking about, what financial stuff that you need to be thinking about, as part of that, you can just set up a time to talk with me, Eric Heckman. All you have to do is text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word visit 800-454-1184, or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Up next, some of the top legacy planning mistakes that you want to try to avoid when Wealth Creator Radio continues with Eric Heckman.
Be sure to like and subscribe to Wealth Creator Radio so you can stay up to date on ways to build your wealth and create a retirement you and your family will enjoy for years to come. Like and subscribe today and create your wealth for tomorrow with Wealth Creator Radio.
Hi, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer, and I am here with Eric Heckman, president of Heckman Financial, right here in the Silicon Valley area. And we just thank you so much for joining us. So today we're talking about the importance of creating a legacy plan for your retirement and for your family. Eric, why don't you walk us through some of the basic documents that we might need to consider for an estate plan, please?
Yeah. So, I mean, most people always talk about a will, and it's always dramatic on TV, the reading of the will, right?
Yeah.
The movies.
Yeah, the movies. Yeah.
But you actually don't do that you actually do that in a court of law. So the problem with the will is the will just tells the court system who should get your money, and then they have to approve it. And there's legal fees and court fees. So for most of us, we don't want to have anything to do with courts. And we don't usually want to pay big money to attorneys. So again, that's only for stuff doesn't have a beneficiary designation. So you can put a thing called a POD on a bank account, which is payable on death. Or if it's an investment account, you can do TOD, transfer on death. So POD or TOD. And those basically bypass probate. Again, if your IRA, 401k, annuities, life insurance, all those things have beneficiary designations. Don't gotta worry about court. Yay. So it's really the real estate is when you want to have a trust. The trust, in essence, it's a revocable trust, meaning you can cancel at any time. But that trust then would say who gets a house and any other real estate items, because those you can't put POD or TOD on or beneficiaries on.
Okay.
The other one that gets kind of confusing is the power of attorney. And so a lot of times when we're talking about the estate plan, we're thinking about ourselves. But man, if you're in your 40s to 60s and you have parents, you really need to be talking to them about this stuff, because of guess who gets to handle a lot of it? You.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is not necessarily your estate, your issues. A lot of times it's going to be your parents' issues. So one confusing thing is, what's the difference between a trust and a power of attorney? Well, I've got a couple of clients right now that, the kids are the ones who are running their money now because they're not able to anymore.
Yeah.
But one of the confusing things is, if you've got a power of attorney, you go, oh, okay, yeah, I can go ahead and move this money. Well, a power of attorney doesn't work for a trust. Power of attorney works for IRAs and other investments, but if it's in a trust, you actually have to change to the new trustee.
Okay.
So it gets a little confusing as, am I signing as trustee? Am I signing as, power of attorney?
Oh, yeah.
So there's a little bit of a, I guess, oddity around that sometimes, and gets a little confusing. The other hard part is that lots of times it's really a pain to, like, we've got one where we're trying to do his taxes and he didn't get one of the forms. Well, the daughter has to call up, say I have power of attorney, send in the power of attorney. They record it, they analyze it, then they'll finally send the form just so we can do the tax return.
Oh my.
So that could be a lot of work. And, of course, this is stuff that they're doing on outside of their normal lives, right? So, and then the other big one that you want to have is really sometimes they call it durable power of attorney. And what that is that's something that kicks in for two different things. So one is the financial management. So that says, if you can't do 2 activities of daily living, there's some sort of medical issue with you, then that's when that power of attorney would kick in. And then the other one is for healthcare. So, do they resuscitate you? Do they donate organs? All that fun junk,
yeah,
right? That nobody wants to go.
No.
So a lot of times the durable power for healthcare, a lot of times you can actually ask your doctor or, whatever medical group. And a lot of times they'll have those for you. For free lots of times. So, but the one that people forget about is financial management. So, usually if you go off and get a trust, the trust will have all these documents included. So yeah, you really need to get this set up right, because if not, it's just a mess. Then they have to go to, hire an attorney to get a power of attorney because you can't, do stuff. And can you imagine you being in a house for 30 years and maybe you still have a little bit of a mortgage left, and nobody has the authority to go into your bank account and pay your mortgage, and you might get foreclosed on.
Right. That'd be terrible. Yeah.
Stuff like that, or that you're not taking out your required minimum distribution from your IRA. Now you're having tax penalty because only that one person's eligible to do that. So, so these are the things that we got to, kind of watch out for and make sure we have, going right. So, it takes a little bit of time and energy, but get these things done.
Exactly. So you got to get that legacy plan. And Eric, that's all part of what you guys do with your retirees. You take them on and you plan out everything from what's your monthly income to strategies for investments, healthcare, tax, and then even the legacy planning.
Yeah, exactly. You have to do, really the income plan starts first, then you figure out where are those investments, are they situated to do that income? What's the tax ramifications, which tax ramifications also go into legacy a lot, right? So who's going to get that money, and which types of money are you spending, and are you trying to leave more to the next generation or not? Healthcare obviously is a big one. How are you paying for it? All these costs, right? And then, sadly, lots of times it's, more end of life stuff of making sure you have it all set up in the right places. So, that's one of the things that we want to make sure you have, done. We don't do the wills or trusts here, but we kind of act as the person who sits there and bugs you and gets it done. Right. And then we help. The worst thing attorneys do is they say, here's your big trust. It's like a funnel. And then nothing's in the funnel except for maybe your house. And so if you don't put anything in the funnel, it's a useless document. So that's where we really kind of jump into action and help people move those assets really into that. Again, if you want to talk more about this, or you want to get a lot of our free resources, we've got a lot of great downloads about this and my book, Worry Less Wealth, and even time to talk with us. All you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. So let's just get to it. What are some ways we can start creating that plan?
Yeah, well, you want to ideally meet with an attorney. If you for some people, maybe not, right? If you've only have IRAs and some bank accounts, you can use beneficiaries and POD and TOD and all that stuff, and really probably get by with that. But once you've got a lot more assets, you've got $1 million or more, you've got obviously, like I said, real estate. That's when you really need to have really ideally some sort of attorney go through it. Yeah, there's some online stuff. The hard part is, is everything going to be done right? I mean, I had a client one time do all this whole thing on her own. She figured out how to do the whole trust, and I swear she must have spent 80 hours on this thing or more, because she kept calling back or kept doing stuff. And I was just like, compared to her hourly rate that she makes and stuff, she could have paid somebody a lot cheaper to get it done.
Aww.
And a lot of times it doesn't need to be that. You can get some fairly decent ones for $500 or $1,000. If you've got any unique situations, like maybe you've got somebody who's got special needs, maybe you've got somebody who's got drug and alcohol problems, so you need to make sure you don't leave them the money. You've got his, hers, and our kids. So some weird situations where somebody might need to leave different amounts to different people. Any of those types of situations, that's when I would say pay a little bit more. Pay $2 or $3 or maybe up to $5,000 to get a really good trust going. I just recently was meeting with somebody who spent 6 years in court battling one of their siblings just to get everything settled, and even had to sue their trust attorney because the things were so messed up. And so you do want to check out your attorney. You do want to make sure you get it right. And, and then anytime there's a life change, you want to make sure you go update that stuff, right? To make sure everything's set up right. And, most trusts and wills always say, the people who come after them. So the grandkids are kind of included, but lots of times you want to name them and such. But so there's a lot to do. Again, we've seen it all. So if you want to set up a time to talk with us, find out a little bit more how this fits into your situation, what's the key things you need to be looking for, feel free to give us a call and we can set up a time to talk. You can do that easily by just texting the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, text word visit 800-454-1184, or book directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And we'll be right back with more of our show. Eric Heckman and Wealth Creator Radio.
Imagine your first day of retirement. What do you see? Let's turn that vision into reality. The first step, get Eric Heckman's Wealth Creator Toolbox. In it, you'll get information on some of the biggest challenges you'll face in retirement. Request your Wealth Creator Toolbox now by texting the word Toolbox to 800-454-1184. That's Toolbox to 800-454-1184.
Hi, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, as we are going into this part of our show, we're going to do a round of retirement trivia, and we're going to do it on inflation. So, Eric, it's kind of a little game. I'm going to kind of put you to the test. Are you okay with doing this?
All right, let's go for it.
Okay. It's mostly multiple choice. There's a couple of true-false questions. Okay. So, and I'll keep score. And there's a bonus question. So if you happen to miss one along the way, the bonus question will get you back on track. All right, here we go. The very first question: what was the average cost for a gallon of gas back in 1960? You're going to kind of have to guess this, Eric.
Yeah, don't know about
I know. Okay.
I don't know, say 10 cents.
Wait, no. I'm going to give you a multiple choice. You're good. You're good. A, 25 cents. B, 60 cents. C, $1. Or D, 10 cents. Oh, you guessed. Okay, what do you want to say? What do you
I'll
say?
do the 10 cents.
Okay. No, wrong.
Oh, man.
It's actually 25 cents. Okay. So not quite as cheap in 1960.
I think the lowest I ever paid as a kid was 88 cents.
Was it
one
really?
time it dropped when I first got licensed under $1, but
Oh, man. I remember the 60 cents one. I remember that. By 2000, the average cost for a gallon of gas in our country was $1.26. By 2018, it was about $3, and probably depending on where you were across the country. And now I don't even know where it is. It's probably still just over $3, I think, isn't it, Eric? Something like that.
No, 4 to 5.
Is it? Oh, man. Okay, 4 to 5. Well, yeah, different parts of the country. So, okay, next question for you. Ooh, this is a good one. You're going to fill in the blank here, okay? The average cost of college tuition in the United States for undergraduate students has blank, okay? You're going to fill that in over the last 58 years, according to data from the National Center for Education Statistics. So here's the fill in the blank answer. A, doubled. B, tuition has quadrupled. C, stayed the same. Or D, tripled. What say you?
Yeah, definitely. It has not stayed the same. That's pretty obvious.
No,
So
it has
yeah,
not.
so no, it definitely tripled.
Ah, yes, it has tripled. And get this, it rose from 4,336 in 1963 to 13,777, gosh, in 2020. So, I mean, it's up even more from then. Do you remember what you paid by the hour? I remember paying $60 an hour. I remember that for a class. Do you remember, Eric?
We never paid by the hour.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, good. Okay, so you are 1 out of 2. Here's another question for you. Back in 1974, President Ford declared inflation as public enemy number 1. So let's see if you can figure out what was the inflation rate that year that got them all riled up. A, 3%, B, 12%, C, 1%, or D, 20%.
Well, 20% is how big the interest rates got, the prime rate got, but
Oh, yeah.
12% would be inflation.
Oh my gosh, yes. Good job. Yeah. So it rose that year in 74, it rose from 10 to 12%. And then unemployment at that time was also a higher rate as well. So good
Yeah,
job.
I mean that's why when you're doing your planning, you definitely can't plan on whatever you were earning today type of thing. Because I remember when I was in high school, it was if you made $100,000, you were wealthy and all that stuff, right? And you're gonna be
Yeah.
set for life. And now I think if you qualify for Stanford, if your family makes less than 125,000, you get free tuition. So it's amazing how things change. So if you try to say, oh, I just need, 6,000 a month to live on in retirement, because that's what I spend now. Well, in 20 years, you don't want to still be having that 6,000. You
No.
need to have a lot more than that, or else it's going to be kind of ugly in terms of spending power. Right. So, again, that's why we put a bunch of different tools in our digital toolbox. So we've got, are you spending too much in taxes? Or, will your money last as long as you do? What's the Social Security decision? All these great things, a copy of my book, and even a way to book a time to talk with me, Eric Heckman. So super easy way to get that digital downloads is all you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And we're so happy you joined us today. I'm sure you're getting a lot out of everything Eric is explaining. This is Wealth Creator Radio. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. And right now we are doing a little trivia on inflation. And I've put together a little trivia game for Eric. And so far, 2 out of 3 you've done correctly. This one might be easy. This next one, because it's true false, Eric. Okay. You should hoard cash to ensure inflation cannot harm it. A, true, B, false.
Yeah, that one's definitely false. So, yeah, having money sit there in cash is actually the worst thing to do when there's more inflation, because it's not growing, right? It's not getting
Right.
bigger and stuff, and unless the interest rates are super high, I guess. But yeah, you definitely need to have that money growing.
Okay. Yeah, got to keep it growing. Next one. This is different types of inflation, okay? Which is not a type of inflation? A, creeping, B, hyperinflation, C, lulling, or D, walking. Which one is not a type of inflation?
Sounds like one of those medical ads, you see on TV and stuff, right? No, but these are all the side effects of inflation.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Lulling's not one.
Ooh, very good. Very good. Okay, so creeping, this, is low or mild. Okay, prices rising less than 3% a year. Hyperinflation is extraordinary inflation spiraling out of control over 1,000% a year. Walking, or I guess trotting, sometimes they say, I guess, is when prices rise moderately, but the inflation rate stays the same, or stays single digits. So good. All right, I'm going to give you a bonus round here, Eric, so you can catch up, because you're 4 out of 5 right now. 4 out of 5. All right, this one has to do with movies. Okay, are you a moviegoer?
Yep.
Okay. So this next one, after adjusting for inflation, what is the highest grossing movie of all time? A, The Wizard of Oz. B, Titanic. C, Gone with the Wind. D, Jaws.
Yeah, actually, I think Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz, I'm pretty sure they both came out the same year. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, that is crazy.
Um,
Yeah.
So we'll go with Gone with the Wind.
Oh, good thing. Yeah, very good. So listen to this. As far as movies go, adjusted for inflation in 2017, top 5 highest grossing movies of all time, Gone with the Wind, 1.6 billion, okay, in today's dollars. Star Wars, 1.4 billion. Sound of Music, 1.13 billion. And E.T., 1.12 billion. Oh, The Ten Commandments, 1 billion. So interesting. Good job. You ended up getting 5 out of 5. Yay, Eric. Good job. Okay. So, you are probably talking to a lot of your retirees about the impacts of inflation. And really, right now, things seem to be slowing down a bit, right? Isn't that what you're saying? It's not going as high as it once was, like here the last year.
Yeah, well, I mean, inflation's calmed down, but that's that's missing a bigger thing, which was that inflation's just measuring year-to-year price increases. It doesn't measure the cumulative effect, right? So if things keep going up, keep going up just by a few percent, all of a sudden, what was $3 or $4 now is $4 or $5 or $5 or $6 or and so much. So even if the rate of increase slows down, doesn't mean things got cheaper, right? It just means those things are now staying higher, more expensive.
Right.
Now inflation's good on some stuff, right? Because if your house value goes up, that's good inflation. Nobody complains about that. They call that appreciation.
Yeah.
If some companies' valuations go up because inflation drives their earnings, right? So, inflation's kind of seen as a negative thing, but it's kind of funny that appreciation is, is a positive, right?
Yeah,
And,
I know.
and it's like, aren't they kind of the similar things? So, inflation never goes away. It never stops. I mean, it's just how things go. I mean, that's just, things will always be going up a little bit and sometimes more extreme depending on the economics. So, I mean, it really comes down to when you're talking about your financial plan is, making sure you have some money for growth, but also making sure that you have some money that's, guaranteed and locked up and protected because, in those down times, lots of times when there's hyperinflation, other things, the markets are down, other things aren't doing well. So you need to have some money that's guaranteed that it's not going to drop, that you can go grab because you may be paying more, right? And then you want some steady income that's paying some good dividends. So, again, it's all about having a plan, having a customized income plan that's rooted in reality, that's got some real numbers behind it, that's not just some model that's on some website, but some real educated information about taxes, about the different types of taxes that you have from the different types of assets that you have, right? And so, that's what we do here at Heckman Financial. And so one easy way to have you get a little bit more educated is go get our digital toolbox. It's got a lot of great things in there. Am I spending too much in retirement? Will my money last as long as I do? The Social Security decision, all that stuff, even a copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth, and a way to set a time to talk with me, Eric Heckman. So if you want to get access to that, super easy. Just text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Still more to come. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Eric Heckman and the rest of our show. This is Wealth Creator Radio.
If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. There's a particular time of life this phrase couldn't be more appropriate. How can you know you'll live the retirement you've always imagined? After all, life can be so unpredictable. You've worked hard and saved. Watch your accounts go up and down with the market. Your advisor says, don't worry, you'll be fine. But you still don't feel confident. Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial has a checklist to help you find out if you're on the right track for retirement. Take his checklist challenge. If you can check all the boxes with confidence, you may be ready for retirement. If not, Eric can help you address any potential costly mistakes. To get Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial's complimentary checklist, call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. See if you've got it right. Take the checklist challenge today. Call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Be sure to like and subscribe to Wealth Creator Radio so you can stay up to date on ways to build your wealth and create a retirement you and your family will enjoy for years to come. Like and subscribe today and create your wealth for tomorrow with Wealth Creator Radio.
Hi, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer with Eric Heckman. He is president of Heckman Financial right here in Silicon Valley. And all right, we have come to the time in our show, Eric, where we're going to have you tell another wealth success story, because this is always something, just a really good example for us to see how things can actually work out for the best with retirees and hear about their situations. So what do you have for us today, Eric?
Yeah, well, this one's, we'll call them Al and Tina, but they came to me and, it was right before all the COVID stuff happened and stuff. And they were, Al was talking to somebody, this guy Jose at work, and they were, both looking to retire, and they were in those target date funds, those ones that are, have a date on them, it's like 2025, 2030 and all that stuff. And those are really just a 60-40 stock, 60% stock, 40% bonds. And, and he was just, I think it's, to be honest, it's probably his wife saying, don't screw this up. So, right. So she wanted him to talk with somebody. And so when we met, we kind of said, yeah, well, this is great for growth, but you need to start having income. It's going to be a big change. And it's a very big change when you start having to withdraw money out of this after 30, 40 years of, putting money in. Right. And so, we divided that up into the three types of money I always like to refer to, which is, not just market money, but foundational stuff that can't go away, some steady income. Then once he retired, well, obviously, if people remember, 2020 was a little kind of a crazy year with the shutdowns and all that stuff, and the market dropped and then started coming back up. Well, we were able to pivot during that drop to the foundational money and the steady income, and we didn't have to lock in any losses. We didn't have to change any of his market money. Then the market went up great, so we pivoted that next year to taking that money out of there. And then once again, the next year was kind of a bad year in the market, so we pivoted again to taking that foundational money. But all the time, that steady income, all those years was paying out some income. And so by having those options from switching from one side to the other side, year by year, we didn't have to lock in as much. And Al at one point, told me the fact that, he was talking with his friend Jose, and he had huge losses. He had to sell off stuff when things were down, and he's very freaked out about his retirement. He still hasn't met with me, but Al's very happy because he's like, yeah, it is scary being retired, but now he's getting used to taking the money out and having that, and at least we're able to kind of figure out which way to take monies from. We're also blending in which should he be taking IRA money or just regular savings, regular investment stuff. So we're also looking at the tax aspects along the way, but just having some plan. They don't have to see all the news and see all the bad stuff out there and be freaked out, because they know, we've got a plan for this. This is what we've been doing. This is how we've been changing things. They know we're going to have a meeting usually every January to figure out how we're getting our income this year. If there's big changes, we get a hold of them. So by having that knowledge, it just makes you so much more relaxed, and just they can go off and have fun and travel like they've been doing, and seeing their families and doing all the stuff they've always wanted to do and getting that bucket list checked off. So again, that's why we set up the digital toolbox for people to get that great information. All you got to do to get that info is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. You've been listening to Wealth Creator Radio. This is Eric Heckman. I'll be back with you next week. And again, if you need to set up a time, 800-454-1184. Thanks for listening.
Information provided during Wealth Creator Radio is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. Eric Heckman offers investment advisory services through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Any tax advice given as part of this presentation is not intended to be used and cannot be used by the taxpayer for the purpose of avoiding tax penalties securities, or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any matter or transaction addressed herein. The views and opinions expressed in the program are not necessarily those of the radio station or its sponsors, and they should not construe as legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult the appropriate advisor before making any financial decision.